Karen said I forced a child to take the bed sheets away. The train rattled along, its wheels clacking rhythmically against the tracks, a sound that had become my heartbeat over the past month. It was July 15, 2025, and I was halfway through my summer job as a conductor for Russian Railways, RZD, a gig I'd taken to save up for a steam deck. The work was grueling, long hours, endless tasks, and passengers who ranged from delightful to downright unhinged, but it was never boring. Long-distance trains in Russia are like little worlds on wheels, full of stories, smells, and chaos. You've got families, businessmen, babushkas with bags of pickled cabbage, and the occasional drunk singing off-key at 2 a.m. I loved it, mostly. But today, somewhere between Moscow and a small station in the middle of nowhere, I met her, Karen, the woman who'd accused me of forcing her kid to strip bed sheets. I was working the third-class Platzkart car, the kind with open bunks stacked like shelves, curtains for privacy, and a faint smell of instant noodles and sweat. It was late afternoon, about half an hour before we'd pull into the next station, and I was making my rounds, clipboard in hand, checking tickets and warning passengers to get ready. My uniform, a stiff blue jacket and a name tag that just read Alexei, was itchy, but I'd gotten used to it. I was 20, a university student trying to make some cash, and I'd learned fast that being a conductor meant being part therapist, part janitor, and part punching bag. The Platzkart was buzzing with activity, kids running up and down the aisle, a guy snoring loud enough to wake the dead, an old woman offering me tea from her thermos. I was weaving through the chaos when a teenager, maybe 15, with messy hair and a hoodie, stopped me near his bunk. So, should I take the bed sheets away? He asked, his voice quiet but curious. I glanced at him, a bit thrown off. Bed sheets are a thing on Russian trains, everyone gets a set for their bunk, and conductors like me are supposed to collect them at the end of the trip. But in reality, lots of passengers strip their own beds and hand them over. Some think it's required, others just do it to be nice. I never push it. If someone doesn't want to, I'll grab the sheets myself, no problem. Oh, yes, of course, I said, nodding. It was a reflex, a dumb one, I'll admit. I didn't mean he had to, just that he could if he wanted. He didn't seem fazed, just shrugged and started pulling the sheets off his bunk, folding them neatly. That's when she appeared. A woman in her 40s, with a bleach blonde bob and a face like she'd just bitten into a lemon, stormed up the aisle. Her purse swung wildly, and her eyes locked onto me like I was a criminal caught red-handed. Hey, you, she shouted, her voice sharp with an accent I couldn't quite place, maybe from a neighboring country, or just a city type trying to sound posh. How dare you force a minor child to take off the sheets? Let me see your badge. I froze, my clipboard clutched to my chest. The whole car went quiet, heads turning. The teenager stopped folding, his eyes wide, like he wasn't sure what he'd done wrong. I glanced at my badge, just my first name, no surname, as per RZD policy, and back at her. Ma'am, I said, trying to keep my voice steady, I didn't force anyone. He asked if he should, and I said he could. It's optional. Optional? She snapped, snatching my badge from my chest and squinting at it. Alexei, is it? You think it's okay to make a child do your job? This is outrageous. She waved the badge like it was evidence in a courtroom, her bracelets jangling. The teenager looked mortified, his cheeks red. Mom, it's fine, he mumbled. I just asked, quiet, she cut him off, pointing a manicured finger at me. You're taking advantage of a minor. I want the complaint book, right now. I swallowed hard, my heart pounding. The complaint book is this old-school thing on Russian trains, a notebook where passengers can write grievances, and it's a conductor's nightmare. Most complaints are nonsense, but they still make you look bad. Miss, maybe I can get you the complaint book? I offered, hoping to defuse her. Or I can take the sheets myself, it's no trouble. Why, of course I want it, she said, her voice dripping with sarcasm. But don't think you're off the hook. We're almost at the station, but I'll write a complaint online. I'll remember everything. She glared at me, then at her son, who looked like he wanted to disappear into his bunk. I nodded, keeping my face neutral, though inside I was screaming. Forcing a minor? The kid asked, I answered, and he didn't even seem bothered. I could have grabbed the sheets myself if he'd said no. Hell, I was about to do it for half the car anyway. But Karen was on a mission, and I was her target. I glanced at the teenager, who avoided my eyes, folding the sheets faster like he could escape his mom's tirade. The rest of the car was watching now, some passengers whispering, others pretending not to notice. An old man across the aisle gave me a sympathetic look, like he'd seen this kind of thing before. I wanted to explain, to tell her I teach outdoor skills to kids younger than her son, that I know how to handle responsibility. But arguing with a Karen is like arguing with a brick wall, so I just said, I'll get the sheets, ma'am. No problem. She huffed, crossing her arms, and stood there watching as her son handed me the folded sheets. I took them, forcing a smile. "Thank you," I said to him, hoping he knew I wasn't the bad guy. He just nodded, barely audible, and followed his mom back to their seats, which, I noticed, were in a different car. She wasn't even my passenger. She just wandered over to make my day harder. The train pulled into the station 30 minutes later, the platform a blur of people and luggage. I stood by the door, doing my conductor thing, smiling and saying, "Thank you for using the services of the Federal Passenger Company," as passengers filed out. The teenager passed by, his backpack slung over one shoulder, and muttered, "Thank you." His mom, Karen, didn't even look at me, just stormed off, her purse swinging like a weapon. I leaned against the doorframe, exhausted. The whole thing was so stupid. I hadn't forced anyone to do anything. My yes, of course, was a slip, sure, but it wasn't a command. The kid didn't care, but his mom acted like I'd made him scrub the entire train. I wondered what was behind her reaction, some need to control, maybe, or just a bad day she decided to take out on me. Whatever it wasn't my problem. I had a car full of sheets to collect and a shift to finish. Back in the conductor's compartment, I flopped onto a bench, my Steam Deck fund a little closer thanks to this job, but my nerves frayed. I told my coworker, Marina, about it over a cup of instant coffee. She laughed, shaking her head. "Karens, Alexei. They're everywhere. Last week, some lady yelled at me because her tea was too cold." "You did fine." I shrugged, sipping the bitter coffee. "She said she'd write a complaint online." Marina snorted. "Let her. No one reads those. You didn't do anything wrong." She was right. A week later, I checked the RZD complaint portal, nothing. Karen's threat was empty, just hot air. But the encounter stuck with me, a reminder of how this job could turn you into a target for someone's bad mood. I thought about the teenager, quiet and embarrassed, caught in his mom's storm. I hoped he was okay, that he didn't think I was some jerk making his life harder. As my shift ended, the train rumbling toward its next stop, I looked out at the passing fields, golden under the setting sun. This job was tough, long hours, endless passengers, and the occasional Karen, but it was worth it. Not just for the Steam Deck, but for the stories, the people, the feeling of keeping this little world on rails moving. Next time a Karen came at me, I'd be ready, smile, nod, and let her yell herself out. Because out here, on the tracks, I was learning to handle more than just bed sheets.